All right, greetings. I am recording here from Boca Raton, and I am in a beautiful flow. This is John Jacob Flows, and I'm going to be reading from A Course in Miracles, Manual for Teachers. Before we start, I want to just do a little guided meditation. Are changes required in the life situations of God's teachers? Changes are required in the minds of God's teachers. This may or may not involve changes in the external situation. Remember that no one is where he is by accident, and chance plays no part in God's plan. It is most unlikely that changes in attitude would not be the first step in the newly made teacher of God's training. There is, however, no set pattern, since training is always highly individualized. There are those who are called upon to change their life situation almost immediately, but these are generally special cases. By far, the majority are given a slowly evolving training program, in which as many previous mistakes as possible are corrected. Relationships in particular must be properly perceived, and all dark cornerstones of unforgiveness are removed. Otherwise, the old thought system still has a basis for return. As the teacher of God advances in his training, he learns one lesson with increasing thoroughness. He does not make his own decisions. He asks his teacher for his answer. And it is this he follows as his guide for action. This becomes easier and easier as the teacher of God learns to give up his own judgment. The giving up of judgment, the obvious prerequisite for hearing God's voice, is usually a fairly slow process, not because it is difficult, but because it is apt to be perceived as personally insulting. The world's training is directed towards achieving a goal in direct opposition to that of our curriculum. The world trains for reliance on one's judgment as the criterion for maturity and strength. Oh, little ladybug. Hey, baby. Our curriculum trains for the relinquishment of judgment as the necessary condition of salvation. Maggie, you want to come? We just read our changes required in the life situation of God's teachers. And basically, namaste, what we learned was that our curriculum trains for the relinquishment of judgment as the necessary condition of salvation. How does that sound?
You said it, yes.
Our curriculum, which is the curriculum of love, before we even begin, I started off with a little meditation. And I said it was guided, but I did it more internally. But basically what I did, was, I reflected on a little bit about what Lau and Walter Russell were communicating about. Really, try to put into words, what your conception of God or love is, and then try to just feel the force of that without words, and then just lay everything you see, just envelop it with that ecstatic love. So I'll do that before we continue reading. So the next section is, how should the teacher of God spend his day? Would you like to read it?
To the advanced teacher of God, this question is meaningless. There is no program, for the lessons change each day. Yet the teacher of God is sure of but one thing: they do not change at random. Seeing this and understanding that it is true, he rests content. He will be told all that his role should be, this day and every day. And those who share that role with him will find him, so they can learn the lessons for the day together. No one is absent whom he needs. Not one is sent without a learning goal already set, and one which can be learned that very day. For the advanced teacher of God, then, this question is superfluous. It has been asked and answered, and he keeps in constant contact with the answer. He is set, and sees the road on which they walk stretch surely and smoothly before him. But what about those who have not reached their certainty? They are not yet ready for such lack of structuring on their own part. What must they do to learn to give the day to God? There are some general rules which do apply, although each one must use them as best as they can in their own way. Routines as such are dangerous because they easily become gods in their own right, threatening the very goals for which they were set up. Broadly speaking, then, it can be said that it is well to start the day right. It is always possible to begin again, should the day begin with error. Yet there are obvious advantages in terms of saving time. At the beginning, it is wise to think in terms of time. I remember that part was very powerful when I was going through treatment. That was something that we were often reminded of, that it's always possible to begin again. If a day starts in error, if something happens that is a perceived error, it doesn't mean the whole day is out the window, or that you have to give up, so to speak. It's more so of, it's an opportunity to pause and begin again. At the beginning, it is wise to think in terms of time, so I'm grateful for the beginning. This is by no means the ultimate criterion, but at the outset, it is probably the simplest to observe. The saving of time is an essential early emphasis which, although it remains important throughout the learning process, becomes less and less emphasized. At the outset, we can safely say that time devoted to starting the day right does indeed save time. How much time should be spent? This must depend on the teacher of God himself. He cannot claim that title until he has gone through this workbook, since we are learning within the framework of our course. After completion of the more structured practice periods, which the workbook contains, individual need becomes the chief consideration.
This course is always practical. It may be that the teacher of God is not in a situation that fosters quite quiet thought as he awakes. If this is so, let him but remember that he chooses to spend time with God as soon as possible, and let her do so. Duration is not the major concern. One can easily sit still an hour with closed eyes and accomplish nothing. One can easily give God only an instant, and in that instant join with God completely. Perhaps the one generalization that can be made is this: as soon as possible after waking, take your quiet time. Continuing a minute or two after you begin to find it difficult, you may find that the difficulty will diminish and drop away. If not, that is the time to stop.
The same procedures should be followed at night. Perhaps your quiet time should be fairly early in the evening, if it is not feasible for you to take it just before going to sleep. It is not wise to lie down for it. It is better to sit up, in whatever position you prefer. Having gone through the workbook, you must have come to some conclusions in this respect. If possible, however, just before going to sleep is a desirable time to devote to God. It sets your mind into a pattern of rest and orients you away from fear. If it is expedient to spend this time earlier, at least be sure that you do not forget a brief period. Not more than a moment will do, in which you close your eyes and think of God.
I wonder if we do that right now. There's one thought in particular that should be remembered throughout the day. It is a thought of pure joy, a thought of peace, a thought of limitless release. Limitless because all things are freed within it. You think you made a place of safety for yourself. You think you made a power that can save you from all the fearful things you see in dreams. It is not so. Your safety lies not there. What you give up is merely the illusion of protecting illusions. And it is this you fear, and only this. How foolish to be so afraid of nothing at all. Your defenses will not work, but you are not in danger. You have no need of them. Recognize this, and they will disappear. Only then will you accept your real protection. You know, when I think about this, I think about that podcast that we did with David, and I asked David, what is your prized possession? And he said his grinder. And I laughed a little bit, but then I thought about what is my prized possession? And I kind of had this, I was like, I don't really value too many material things. We've given away so much. And, but we do have some things that we cherish in the sense that they're connected to, creative things and, loving pulses. And I thought about that pajama set that my parents gave me for Christmas and just how happy I was when they gave it to me and I quite like the design. Quite wise colors and grounded colors, and it's a nice little flare. I like to wear it. So then I was driving, and I said to myself, I said, this is probably like, I wear this, 5 times out of a week. I like this, and I thought, I was like, this is probably like my favorite possession. Then I thought, I thought about my journals and things like that, but I thought about how silly that would be my prized possession. And one thing I reflected on with that podcast was what's I like that piece because it's unique. I like my journals because it's unique. It's like I kind of was thinking in terms of value of the thing I wouldn't want to give away. My mom, my dad gave me this, but then I realized pardon me for cursing, how foolish. Because it's like, that's the greatest thing you feel like you have to give, or that, no, then I thought about it, and I listened to the podcast with David a little bit more, and I really reflected on there was a part where we both kind of agreed that being a good neighbor was something that is from God. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to change it to my sense of neighborliness. Like, that is something that I possess in my energy.
Yeah.
And really just being able to see love and light in all neighbors and all beings. That is... And the value there is that the most valuable thing is the thing that you can give away most liberally. You know what I mean? It's like... Exactly. Like, don't so when I read this, it says your safety, what you give up, merely the illusion of protecting illusions. So basically, instead of valuing what is valueless and valuing what can't be given away, put a huge priority, put the value on the thing that you can give away most rapidly. A smile, a sense of neighborliness is what I came to. A sense of, I am reliable, I am responsive, I am cooperative, I bring cheer, I bring stability, I bring a sense of safety, I bring a sense of calm. I am constructing appropriately, I am luminous light, I'm perfectly reliable, and I'm perfectly consistent, and then literally as I was a company, this company did a great job of advertising. But as I was kind of coming to this revelation yesterday, literally I was like, wow, that's so funny. Like, neighbor, then the ad came to me, like a good neighbor, company is there. And then literally, as I'm driving, I see that company.
We use that company.
Oh, we do?
We work with them.
Okay, they'll say State Farm.
Yeah.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Pretty good rates. Check out in Boca, good rates.
Good agents too.
So
Very helpful and kind.
So yeah, I just think it's so interesting. Your safety is not in the illusion of protection. You know what I mean? It's not in the illusion of like, I'm gonna guard, and no one's gonna take this jacket off me. No one's gonna take this. I'm like, how effing silly is that? But instead, your defenses will not work, but you are not in danger. You have no need of them. Recognize this and they will disappear, and only then will you accept your real protection. My real protection is actually in the ability to give all, so I receive all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give and re-giving.
How simply and how easily does time slip by for the teacher of God who has accepted his protection. I am accepting my full protection, and it feels so good. All that he did before in the name of safety no longer interests him, for he is safe and knows it to be so. He is a guide who will not fail. I'm so grateful for my guide. One of the things that Jose was saying that was so interesting yesterday, that I'm so grateful for, is he was talking about the relationship between angels and angels. And he was talking about light when it is in a heavenly concentrated place it grows its power. So Tony Robbins has this example that he says you'll see, most little boys in America at some point will understand the power of a magnifying glass. Very likely there's sun's, pretty high right now. Very likely there's a boy somewhere in the world or a girl who has a magnifying glass and is understanding the power of concentrated light. What do I mean by that? Well, when you take the magnifying glass and you use the rays of the sun and you concentrate it to that particular focused on area, it creates the conditions where that light is super centralized, and what the light then focused on then burns up. So Tony Robbins talks about conserving, using your energy in such a focused way such that you're magnifying the power of your work, because it's so highly concentrated in one way that what might have once just been, just a regular energy exchange, because you have focused the energy, the actual conditions for a literal fire take place because you have such focused energy.
Yes.
And what I was thinking about with Jose, what Jose was saying is he was saying that there's a way that lasers are actually made where a similar process occurs, where light is going through a crystal, a particular crystal called a ruby. It's referred to as a semi-precious stone. Birth month, it's a birthstone associated with the month of July. So this ruby, the angles of the ruby are such that when light goes through it, the light swirls in such a vigorous way that when that light comes out of that ruby, it is so highly concentrated. And Jose was using that example to talk about actually all of creation. That when you, let's just say, when you realize the power of the force of your being and the freedom of illuminated light, you realize that when you express that into the world, you express your life force into the world, that expression is so highly concentrated that going through you and going out of you, it goes out in different angles. From A Course in Miracles perspective, we can look at it a little bit metaphorically, like you were just saying, like you just said, give yourself time. If you make a mistake, that's just one angle of the situation. You have multiple different angles, because that intention to get better, that intention to get to be healthy, that is the energy. I am healthy. Now, direction. That's the direction. Now, if there's an angle that might be, you're still working on, you have other angles. And what Jose said is, he said, observe the relationship between angles and the term angels. He said that's why you know that you're never alone, because you always have a variety of different angles that you are expressing your movement with. So you have, you can look at it like you always are with, you're never alone, you're always with the variety of angles of the self, just like Earth is never alone, has other planets in this particular universe. We have Mars, we have Mercury, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, Venus. We have the moon, which is, we have the sun. Are there any other planets?
Not
Neptune.
Really either, Mother.
Yep.
Just yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So the very important factor to understand is that we are always supported blissfully. Okay. So how simply and how easily does this slip by for the teacher of God who has accepted his protection? All that he did before in the name of safety no longer interests him, for he is safe and knows it to be so. He has a guide who will not fail. He need make no distinctions among the problems he perceives, for he to whom he turns with all of them recognizes no order of difficulty in resolving them. He is as safe in the present as he was before illusions were accepted into his mind, and as he will be when he has let them go. There is no difference in his state at different times in different places, because they are all one to God. This is his safety, and he has no need for more than this. Yet there will be temptations along the way. The teacher of God has yet to travel. Wow, my God. And he has no, okay. You know what I think of with that? Observe an angle in yourself, in the great I am, that has never been tainted. Observe an angle in you that is always pure. Observe, there's a way of looking at your identity that is always serene and blissful. Malcolm Jamal Warner made his transition. Great comedian, poet, philanthropist, motorcycle enthusiast, an all-around good guy. He made his transition, I believe it was last July in 2025, to life beyond life. And one of the things that he said while he was in space-time is he said that he would always hear Uncle Snoop Dogg. Snoop Doggy Dogg. You know, he heard Snoop Dogg say it's all good. And he said that when he was a young guy, he said he would get angry. He's like, what is he talking about? It's all good. Look at the problems in the world. Look at the political injustices. Look at what's happening. How could he say it's all good? It's an unrealistic perspective. He said, but then he matriculated and grew, had children. And he said, wait a second. It really is all good. He said it took him some practice and training to see in the world and to see in himself that there's a way of looking at all situations. It's all good. One of our good friends' name is Joseph Moreno, and one of our memories with him, what was the term we were using at that time? Significant.
Silver lining?
No, but we called it wasn't a significant emotional, what was it? For sure. We had this friend named Joseph Moreno, and we have this great friend named Joseph Moreno, and we had a significant emotional experience with him, whereby we heard this poem about, within every gray cloud there's always a silver lining. And we all were kind of pondering what this meant. So we pulled up a picture of a cloud. There's some clouds right here. And we pull up the picture of the cloud, and we look, and we see there's, within every gray cloud, there's always I said, oh, I see that there is something glistening and brilliant and perfectly well in all moments. And if you can just look and see, you can just ride that silver lining. It's a perfectly glistening experience, because the glisten has never left you. There's an angle of looking at all of life that says, I am well. and it's not just one angle. It's actually all angles suggest this. But sometimes you just have to start with one. I remember my friend, or my dad's friend, Bernard Shepard, great elder who I've spoken about in the past, he talked about a poem. He said, John, have you heard of the poem called The One? It's like, then it came to me, I said, yeah, I've heard about that one. He said, yeah, The One. It's an ancient poem, you gotta look it up. And it's about this person who was active in government affairs. And it talked about how the majority of people in this particular situation signed up for this government project because it was the majority thing to do. Then there was a smaller percentage of people who signed up based off of expedience, or it was consistent with what was happening at the time. Then there was an even smaller percentage of people who did it, who were involved in this government project because they were going to do the best job that they can do for the people they were working with. But then the poem narrows down and it says that there was one being out of the 100 who was doing the government project because that was the only thing that his essence and being allowed him to. That he would rather die than not do that thing. That his, Benjamin Elijah Mays, 6th president of Morehouse College, mentor to many leaders of the Black freedom movement in America in the 1960s and beyond. Benjamin Elijah Mays said, whatever you find yourself doing, do that thing so well that no man living, no man who's ever lived, and no man who is yet to be born could ever do it any better. He said, let there be some things that you just do not do. Let there be some things that you would rather die than to do. In this, your existence glimmers. He said, inside of you is a candle over which no man, no other being, no other force over which only you are sovereign. He said, let there be some things that you just simply do not do. Let there be some things that you would rather die than to do. Kanye West said it another way. He said, everything I'm not made me everything I am. There's something about your essence that is glimmering with radiant light. He can but try, and his success depends on his conviction that he will succeed. He must be sure success is not of him, but will be given him at any time, in any place and circumstance he calls for it. I'm grateful to be calling upon perfect success. There are times his certainty will waver. I'm grateful for all the times that my teacher, the Holy Spirit, has guided me to perfect certainty and clarity. And the instant this occurs, she will return to earlier attempts to place reliance on herself alone. I'm so grateful to put reliance in the I am, love, presence. Forget not this magic, and magic is a sorry substitute for true assistance. I'm so grateful to be truly supported. It is not good enough for God's teacher because it is not enough for God's son. I'm so grateful to be supported by God is. The avoidance of magic is the avoidance of temptation. For all temptation is nothing more than the attempt to substitute another will for God's. These attempts may indeed seem frightening, but they are merely pathetic. They can have no effects, neither good nor bad, neither rewarding nor demanding sacrifice, healing nor destructive, quieting nor fearful. When all magic is recognized as merely nothing, the teacher of God has reached the most advanced state. All intermediate lessons will but lead to this and bring this goal nearer to recognition. For magic of any kind in all its forms simply does nothing. Its powerlessness is the reason it can be so easily escaped. What has no effects can hardly terrify. There is no substitute for the will of God. In simple statement, it is to this fact that the teacher of God devotes his day. Each substitute she may accept as real can but deceive her. But she is safe from all deception if she so decides. Perhaps he needs to remember, God is with me. I cannot be deceived. Perhaps she prefers other words, or only one or none at all. God is. Yet each temptation to accept magic as true must be abandoned through his recognition. Not that it is fearful, not that it is sinful, not that it is dangerous, no, but merely that it is meaningless. I'm so grateful for true meaning. Rooted in sacrifice and separation, two aspects of one error and no more. He merely chooses to give up all that he never had. And for this sacrifice is heaven restored to his awareness. You know, I'm so grateful that heaven is being restored to my awareness. I'm so grateful that my day is full with immersed love. Would you love to read the last paragraph?
I would. I'm back. Is
Love
not
you.
this an exchange that you would want? The world would gladly make it if it knew it could be made. It is God's teachers who must teach it that it can. And so it is their function to make sure that they have learned it. No risk is possible throughout the day except to put your trust in magic, for it is only this that leads to pain. There is no will but God's. His teachers know that this is so, and have learned that everything but this is magic. All belief in magic is maintained by just one simple-minded illusion, that it works. All through their training, every day and every hour, and even every minute and second, must God's teachers learn to recognize the forms of magic and perceive their meaninglessness. Fear is withdrawn from them, and so they go. And thus the gate of heaven is reopened, and its light can shine again on an untroubled mind.
How many teachers of God are needed to save the world? The answer to this question is one. One holy, perfect teacher whose learning is complete suffices. This one, sanctified and redeemed, becomes the self who is the daughter of God. She who was always Holy Spirit now no longer sees herself as a body or even as in a body. Therefore, he is limitless, and being limitless, her thoughts are joined with God's forever and ever. Her perception of herself is based upon God's love, not her own. Thus, does she share God's will and bring God's thoughts to still learning minds. She is forever one because she is as love created her. She has accepted Christ and she is saved. Thus does the daughter of woman become the son of God. It is not really a change. It is a change of mind. Nothing external alters, but everything internal now reflects only the love of love. Love can no longer be feared, for the mind sees no cause for punishment. Love can no longer be feared, for the mind sees no cause for punishment. Love's teachers appear to be many, for that is what is the world's need. Yet being joined in one purpose, I am joining with my sisters and brothers with one perfect purpose, and one they share with love. How could they be separate from each other? What does it matter if they then appear in many forms? Their minds are one. Their joining is complete, and God works through them now as one. For that is what they are, one love. One love, one heart. Let's get together and build our life.
Yay.
Yes, love.
Yes, I.
Why is the illusion of many necessary? Only because reality is not understandable to the still learning. Only very few can hear love's voice at all. I am love calling. I am love answering. I am answering the call of love.
Yes, I.
And even some of us cannot communicate love's message directly through the Spirit which gave them. We need a medium through which communication becomes possible to those who do not realize that they are spirit. You know, I'm going to pause right here. You know, I'm just going to say that there's no one who doesn't realize they are not spirit. What it is I am. I am realizing I am full spirit. There's, that's just a part of, if I see anyone who's like that, that's just a part of me that is still waking up to love. And I can actually do a little guided meditation about how to wake that aspect of yourself up. The angle about you that can still in some way comprehend love. I am love. Feel that, and then we're going to do again what Walter and Lau Russell said. Now feel that without words. Now literally circle your body with that presence. And when you have the strength, you can open your eyes and everything your eyes lay upon, whether it be that person. And again, it's just an angle that you're communicating through. So that person, they, the physical form don't, but that angle gonna get through because that angle is you. So hold that love in meditation. You can close your eyes, but what Walter and Lau Russell say is, see if you can stop thinking. But if you can't stop thinking, the desire to know God, the desire to know love fully, the desire to know your true self fully, the desire to live as your best and brightest and most beautiful true self, the desire. Hold that. Now envelop. Situation about finances. Situation about neighbors. Situation about peers. Situation about siblings. Situation about friends. Situation about words. Situation about security. Situation about trust. All these bodies are enveloped by the power of love. A body they can see. A voice they understand and listen to without the fear that truth would encounter in them. Do not forget that truth can come only where it is welcomed without fear. I am welcoming truth without fear. And I can show you how to do that. I am desiring truth. Just let that settle. Do not forget that truth can come only where it is welcome without fear. So we get that. So do God's teachers need a body? For their unity could not be recognized directly. So it says they need a medium through which communication becomes possible to those who do not realize that they are spirit, a body they can see, a voice they understand and listen to. You know, we think about the story of Moses, and the story of Moses and Aaron. Moses, he said, I can't speak. The I am present says, I will send someone to speak for you, and sent Aaron. Yet what makes God's teachers is their recognition of the proper purpose of the body. As they advance in their profession, they become more and more certain that the body's function is but to let God's voice speak through it to human ears. Wow. But you know, God's voice, Course in Miracles says, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Also consider this, that God is light and God speaks through light. Consider that even beyond words, illumination itself is eternally valuable. That's to say, I see the light in you. There's a way of being where just your presence alone conveys the light. Your thoughts are thoughts of light, and that speaks to the angles of light in all beings. One of the things that Walter and Lau Russell talk about is we've said it a couple times. Whatever name you would have for God, Yehovah, Yahweh, Allah, Neter, whatever it be, love, beauty, love, truth, love, kindness, loving kind, whatever it may be. I had a conversation with my dad, and we were really exploring my biological father, and we had a conversation about the attributes of God versus the essence of God. That is to say, the Word. Me saying, God is, there's the fruits of the Spirit. There's love, joy, peace, all the different patience. Love. Let's just say love. Is there a difference between God and love? Okay. Is the essence of love different than the word love? What Walter and Lau Russell, communicate is, see if you can just knock. See if you can feel that vibration without the word. Either way you want to do it. Feel that vibration. Now, let me ask you something. Is that vibration more luminous? Or is it more concealed? More bright? Glimmering, glowing, vibrant? Or more absent? Oh, that loving presence is a presence that is never an absence. It's the light that lights up all mankind. And that's the light that lives in you. That's the light that lives in who I am. That's the light that lives in me. So just walking around, I see that as true for all beings. That is the word of God. Presence. I am presence of love. Yet what makes God's teachers is their recognition of the proper purpose of the body. As they advance in their profession, they become more and more certain that the body's function is but to let God's voice speak through it to human ears. And these ears will carry to the mind of the hearer messages that are not of this world, and the mind will understand because of their source. From this understanding will come the recognition in this new teacher of God of what the body's purpose really is. What's the body's purpose? The only use there really is for. What's the only use of the body? This lesson is enough to let the thought of unity come in. Oh, I am letting and I am welcoming the thought of unity. And what is one is recognized as one. I am grateful to be one with the love in you and all beings. The teachers of God appear to share the illusion of separation. But because of what they use the body for, what do we use the body for? They do not believe in the illusion despite appearances. The central lesson is always this. What's the central lesson? That what you use the body for, it will become to you. What do we use the body for? I'm using the body to forgive. I'm using the body to give flow energy. I am using the body to give the flowing energy of loving kindness, beauty. Use it for sin or for attack, which is the same as sin, and you will see it as sinful. Because it is sinful, it is weak. And being weak, it suffers and dies. Use it to bring the word of God to those who have it not, and the body becomes holy. I'm grateful for our holy body. Because it is holy, it cannot be sick, nor can it die. When its usefulness is done, it is laid by, and that is all. You know, I think about how sisters and brothers used to sing. Burdens down, laid my burdens down. I went to the river and I laid my burdens down. Laid my burdens down. Laid my burdens down. The mind makes this decision as it makes all decisions that are responsible for the body's condition. Yet the teacher of God does not make this decision alone. To do that would be to give the body another purpose from the one that keeps it holy. What is the body's purpose? God's voice will tell him when he has fulfilled his role, just as it tells him what his function is. God does not suffer either in going or remaining. Sickness is now impossible to God's daughter. Oneness and sickness cannot coexist. I'm so grateful to be sickness absent. God's teachers choose to look on dreams a while. It is a conscious choice, for they have learned that all choices are made consciously. I'm grateful to be perfectly aware that I am love. With full awareness of their consequences, I'm so grateful that love's full consequences, even more love. I believe it's in the Upanishads that says that wholeness added to wholeness creates more wholeness. Something to this effect. Perfection added to perfection still creates more perfection. Something to that effect. If it's not the Upanishads, I apologize. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. The concept is that wholeness with more wholeness still remains. The dream says otherwise, but who would put her faith in dreams once they are recognized for what they are? They watch the dream, figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die. Yet they are not deceived by what they see. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. You know, I apologize for any moments that I prioritize different physiques or different bodies compared to others. You know, we're all equal, and I am the true love that's radiating blissfully and pure. Unity alone is not a thing of dreams, and it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream. Unity alone is not a thing of dreams, and it is this God's teachers acknowledge behind the dream, beyond all seeming, and yet surely theirs. Wow. Unity. I'm so grateful for the universal one. Let's do a little meditation to leave. Namaste.